Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Gateway Sports Venue Football Podcast. It's been a little while, but fortunately, we have plenty of good news as we are 5 days, as we record this, we are 5 days away from Week 1 of the 2020 football season that a lot of people thought probably won't happen or maybe shouldn't happen, but here we are, Roman Bishop. It's great to be talking about this. I'm glad we're having this kind of podcast 5 days away from the season.
Yeah, I'm honestly glad that not only are teams having full scheduled regular seasons, but also being able to play this early in the year. I mean, yeah, it's a little tougher because they weren't able to practice as much as they thought, but it's obviously way better to start on schedule time, what we thought would have been the regular time 7 months ago, than for some teams to start like in mid-October.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, just to cut to the chase, basically St. Louis County hopefully will play football. They are scheduled to play. They're scheduled to play football. Most of the teams probably on October 2nd, so in Week 6. And then I think for the private schools, it looks like they'll start playing around Week 3. Just looking at some of their updated schedules, like Cardinal Ritter, MICDS, Westminster. So that's going to be great. So those schools, they'll only have to miss like 2 weeks. So, and unfortunately, there's going to be some schools in St. Louis County who will not be playing, and that is the entire Hazelwood School District. So Hazelwood Central, West, East, Ferguson, Florissant, which is McClure North, Rittner, Riverview Gardens, and then I think the most shocking out of all of them is Pattonville. They're not going to play, but so it looks like they'll just be moving to the spring, and hopefully we can have a spring season as well, because that's where Illinois will be playing that time too. And then,
so do you think that those was that like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 schools, 8 schools right there that we just named that aren't going to play? Are those 8 schools in like the north part of St. Louis County just going to play Illinois teams, or what are they going to do? Because all the other St. Louis teams are going to be done already. Yeah,
that's going to be really hard. Those are logistics that I haven't actually thought up myself, but yeah, it's very possible they'll play some Illinois schools. Because a lot of Illinois school, for instance, Belleville West, they were supposed to play Kirkwood in Week 1. That's not going to happen, so I think that leaves a game open for them, and I feel like a lot of those schools would love to play Belleville West. So I think, and then Alton, they're supposed to play Fords and Malt North in Week 9, so that's a game that'll be open for them. And I think probably we'll have like a 7-game season. I think we're going to have a 7-game season in Illinois, and I would imagine, that Missouri would probably do something similar. But I think fortunately, I'm not, no disrespect to those, North County teams, but fortunately, I think, most of the best schools in St. Louis County are still going to be playing. I say it with the greatest respect possible. Ladue, Kirkwood, Webster Groves, Clayton, the Rockwood School District, which is Eureka, Marquette, Rockwood Summit, Lafayette, and then the Parkway School District, North, South, Central, and West. They're going to be playing. They're going to be playing. I think I might have missed some other schools in there, but then in Jefferson County, they will be starting in Week 1 too, and that's Seckman and Fox.
Is it Northwest in Jefferson County?
What was that?
Northwest High School?
Northwest, yes, they are. So they're not in St. Louis County, so they'll be playing as well. Hey, look, at this rate, I'm just excited that we're going to have football start, and throughout parts of the country, we already did have that. Like in Indiana, they started playing, and I know there's some other states, but I know there are some journalists from Chicago that were going over in Indiana just to watch some football play.
They're being starved for too long.
Right, yeah, and just to kind of report on that one. So it's going to be great. Lindbergh, Melville, Oakville, I believe are all playing too. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard that they're shutting down, so I'm assuming that means they will be playing too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think all that is great news. I'm really excited about that, and for now, normally I would have like a top 10 games of the week, but we're going to narrow that list down to 5 just because it's basically St. Charles County.
Yeah, St. Charles County, Jefferson County schools mainly are the only ones playing Week 1, and a lot of them are playing out-of-area teams, which we'll get to in a second.
Right. So we still got some pretty good games on tap, and so I'll start with game number 5 out of 5. and that is Fox at Timberland. Timberland out of Wentzville, and then Fox. They're very excited for this season. The Warriors, they got 27 seniors on their roster, and I think and they also obviously they bring back plenty of starters and just a lot of depth, and they run a running offense most of the time. I think they run probably like 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, and return a lot of weapons for them. And I think this will be an interesting game to look at. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Fox has got I think it's 7 wins, at least 7 wins.
I think they went 7-4 last year.
Yeah, at least 7 wins, about 4 the past 5 years, something around then. But yeah, they've been doing pretty decent consistently lately. And Timberland did have a pretty disappointing season last year, but hopefully they can just destroy those low expectations a lot of people have for them this year, and hopefully give the Warriors a fight. But I've got Fox winning this game. Yeah,
and actually I got to say they went 8-3 last year, not 7-4, and I'm gonna agree. I think Fox they're going to come out and win this one and control the line of scrimmage. So I think that they could win this one very well by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Honestly, we'll see. I think there's a lot of games that I think it could be a little, like maybe the first week or two could be just a little murky and just a little weird and maybe a little off pace just because of lack of practicing. But then again, I mean, these schools, they've been practicing since, early August, but then also applies to, what they were doing in, June and July too, because you still learn a lot of things in that time period as well. All right, so second game, St. Charles West at St. Dominic. I think these are two teams that I think you could definitely see them, have winning records by the end of the season. And you're going to see a lot of running in this game too, because both teams love to run the football. Roman, you know a lot about St. Charles West. What do they have?
Yeah, St. Charles West, unfortunately, with their honestly just sad circumstances last year of pretty much all their best players getting hurt and having to miss the playoffs. But St. Charles West, they always have amazing size in the O-line. They bring back, in my opinion, one of the top 5 offensive weapons in the GAC, which is Dominic Flint. Kid's got amazing speed. I believe he rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. Should be, one of the best running backs, not only in St. Charles County, but also the whole St. Louis area. And I know a lot of people expect St. Dominic to be pretty good, which they should be. St. Dominic brings back most of everyone, pretty much.
Pretty much everybody.
Yeah, St. Dominic's pretty similar to Holt. If you kind of make the comparison, but yeah, honestly, I do not know who's going to win this game. Obviously, with my GAC bias, I've got St. Charles West winning, but we'll see. It'll be a good game.
So I got so lately, I myself have been doing this. I've been doing football previews, mostly in St. Charles County this last week, and as we speak, later tonight I'm going to upload the Lutheran St. Charles preview that I did on Friday, so that'll be 6. Everyone, if you haven't checked them out, go do it. They're on YouTube, and there's previews of them on Instagram as well, and you can find them on Twitter. But I really like what I see from St. Dominic this season. They were one of the teams that I previewed. I like Gabe Series back at quarterback for them after he was out for most of the season last year, and then they got Jackson Overton, who's a sophomore at running back, and he's explosive, and then they got a lot of line depth, and they're big up front. So I don't have a GAC bias or an Archdiocese bias as well. So I'm gonna go with St. Dominic here. I think both teams are very well organized, and like I said earlier, you're going to see a lot of running. But I just think St. Dominic has more physicality up front, and then I really like Ryan Schwindeman, who's a 6'4" junior tight end. He's also their best. He's a very good basketball player too for St. Dominic, and I just think they might have one too many more weapons than St. Charles West, so I'm going with St. Dominic in this one.
All right. Well, we do have a St. Louis bias to where if any STL team plays a Columbia Jefferson City team or a Southern Missouri team, we're going to go ahead and hope the St. Louis team wins.
Well, we'll see about that. Most of the time, yeah, you'd think so. You'd like to I'm high on the St. Louis teams, obviously, if it comes to other teams throughout Missouri. So the third game, I think that this is a little bit more unknown, I think, for us, and that's Holt at Jefferson City. Well, first off, Roman, I know you're really high on Holt because last year they just had like an incredible rise and fall last year because they got out to 6-0 start, then they lost their last 4 games. But I feel like they're going to be mad about that. They're going to try and make a point now, and I feel like they're going to be better anyway because they had a lot of sophomores and juniors contribute for them last year.
Yeah, Holt last year, that was a very fun team to follow. I mean, beginning of the year, started 6-0. I mean, that in my opinion, that was awesome. That was pretty awesome to see them start 6-0, especially for a team that hadn't started that way in at least 20 years. Going back in national high school sports, I mean, they only go back to like the late 1990s, and even then we couldn't really find much. But it was just cool to see the Indians do that good that early. But then, literally, they just totally tore the hearts out of all their fans, and then lost the next 4 games and ended their season 6-4.
Yeah.
But what's bittersweet about that is that they return, I think, like 90% of their offensive and defense starters. So that's good for them. But like now they know what it's going to take to win games in late October and early November. Like that's when the playoffs start. And they didn't really have that experience. I mean, every team makes the playoffs, but not every team knows what it's like to be playing for a district championship every year. And that's what I think Holt is capable of getting up to because they do have a lot of skill everywhere. I mean, Jackson Smith, that wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they just have a bunch of other weapons, but it'll be interesting to see where they go. I mean, I have high expectations. I did give a little Holt preview several weeks ago on Twitter. I know a lot of people enjoyed that, and I might be doing another preview for another team before the season starts, but I don't know. We'll see. And, yeah, I think Holt can give Francis Howell a legitimate competition for the GAC South title.
Absolutely. And Zumwalt West, don't forget about them.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, so I think really good passing attack they're going to have, and then they're going to go to Jefferson City, who have a fantastic football stadium over there. It's huge. I love looking at it. It's great. And so Jefferson City, they got an interesting new look to them this year because their new head coach is legendary Lamar football coach Scott Bailey, who's in his first year at Jefferson City after a very long and successful run at Lamar where he won. Didn't they win like 6 state championships in a row or something like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 5 or 6.
They've won
2A state titles in a row.
They've won, so very, very successful. I mean, I don't know if he is already, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no matter what class you're playing in, if you win 6 straight state championships, that means that whatever class you had for 4 years was gone by the time that 6th state championship came through.
Yeah, and
that consistency is just I can't even believe that. That's amazing, and props to him for doing that.
Right, unbelievable. But he does take over a Jefferson City team who will program. They certainly have had their struggles. I mean, a once great program, but just lately have not really been able to have a whole lot of success. I mean, last year they got. I mean, what I kind of knew them as. I mean, they were the team where Cannon Nesledge kind of left his mark on last year when he threw for 9 touchdown passes in the first week of the season and. I think tied a state record or was second. I think it's now he's second all time in a game for throwing that many touchdowns in a Missouri contest. Mm-hmm. I looked at the record book. So, and then Jefferson City they went 2-8 last year. They beat Hannibal, but that was when I remember last year Hannibal they started off really kind of poorly, then got things together later in the season. So, and frankly, I've tried to look up some stuff about Jeff City, but I couldn't find a whole lot on them, just who they have coming back with their roster. So this is kind of biased here, but I will pick Holt just because we know more about them, and I think Holt had a better team last year, and they returned a lot of guys, so I feel like that's a safe pick right there.
Yeah, and Holt's got a lot to prove. I mean, I know Coach Ethan Place does a great job with them every year. I mean, just keeping a good attitude with the Indians and. Coach Place, along with many other GAC coaches, was able to keep up a really good off-season workout program. Just players being independent and doing their own thing. But, yeah, Holt's got pretty high expectations, not just in their own team, but also from outside and us. So, yeah, we'll see how they do.
All right, so I think we're both going with Holt on that one.
Yeah.
And so this is where it gets really exciting now. These next 2 games are going to be really good. Fort Zumwalt North at Battle. Roman, I know you're very excited about this one, but we are too because we are planning on going to this game. hopefully we can get to this game. Hopefully nobody gets any positive COVID test.
Yeah,
that
would be kind of a disaster if someone came out with a positive test within the next week.
Right, which unfortunately could easily happen. But if that doesn't happen, then second of all, we're not entirely sure if the media are allowed. I mean, I know the National Football, not football, but the NFHS says that in their
handbook or whatever,
COVID guidelines handbook, that media, this is way back in I think June, they said that media are encouraged to go to games. Mm-hmm. But I read an article somewhere, there was this one high school, I forget where it was, that they didn't allow media into the game.
That's unfortunate. I mean, we're going to reach out to the Battle administration, talk to them, just tell them hopefully what we can do, and it's just gonna be us two. We're not bringing a whole crew.
No, well, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because this is actually technically the biggest crew I've ever brought to a game. Myself and you.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
So it will feel like that we'll have a crew.
I mean, just to make everyone feel safe, we'll be wearing masks. We'll be away from everyone else.
Yeah.
We won't be running around coughing on everybody, so we'll be making sure to stay safe.
All right. So anyway, I feel like Zumwalt North, they lose a lot of guys. I mean, I think their offense takes a heavy hit from last year. You guys lost, I think, just about all your offensive linemen.
Yeah,
Cairo Payne, Isaiah Hartrip. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the only returning offensive lineman starter is center Nate Raplian, who I got to say, that kid's a beast. He's very good, one of the best centers in the area. And, I mean, just the two most obvious losses, Cairo Payne and Isaiah Hartrip, two of the best athletes to come through Zumwalt North ever. I mean, those kids just, wow, they did pretty amazing things. And hopefully they do amazing things here at SIU and then Mo State. But, yeah, they're going to have Jack Newcomb at quarterback. He was one of their starting wide receivers last year. Kid's got great quickness, and he's able to read plays very easily, able to read the defense pretty well. But what their main strength is their defense. Zumwalt North returns most of their defense, and this is a defense that the defense itself outscored the opponent's offense, and I believe it was either 3 or 4 of their games last year. I'm not quite sure. But, yeah, they return a lot of amazing people like Jalen Lee, junior corner, Brendan Mahoney, a senior nose guard, and then Parker Monning, the state record holder in sacks in a season, outside linebacker.
And then Chris Futrell as well at linebacker. And then also at running back, I think a little underutilized. I mean, just because, you had Cairo and then Isaiah and then Tyler Oakes at wide receiver too. And so you got Tyler and Chris back at wide receiver. Well, not wide receiver, but just back on offense. They're two explosive guys. And then I'm really interested to see what Jack Newcomb will do at quarterback as well. And he's a senior, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Coach Bacon, he told me in one of the other previews we did, he told me that Jack, he's very capable. He was just underutilized because he was behind.
There was just so many weapons.
There was just so many weapons. Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. So I'm going to be very interested to see what he will be able to do against Battle and Roman. I mean, Battle is a team ever since they won a state championship in 2014. They've had I believe they've had a winning season every year. I mean, they had a
correct.
They had a great 3-year run when they had state. 2014 through 16. They could have won state those 3 years, but they didn't.
Yeah, and they've won their district. I think they've only not won their district one time since then. But maybe it's been every year. I'm not sure. But I don't really know the exact details on certain players they have. I do know they return kind of a similar amount of people that Zumwalt North does. Mm-hmm. But, if that's the case, if it's similar to last year's game, then Zumwalt North's going to roll. But we'll see. Battle's always big and physical, and they always get on your last nerve. If you've played against Battle, you know what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, they're always going to be they're going to be a good team. Right. They're physical. They're going to play hard. But yeah, it'll be a good game.
Yeah. So I think having said that, if it's similar, the turnover is kind of similar, then I think I would have to go with Zumwalt North in this one. Battle they might be a little faster as a team, maybe, but I feel like North is going to have that edge, up front. And just last year, Battle just had no answer for North's offense.
Yeah, it was. It got kind of out of hand at the end of the first half. I mean, I believe the score at halftime
It was out of hand in the first quarter, man.
Yeah, the score of the first quarter was like 28-0, and then at halftime, I believe it was like 56-7. So really, that was totally a shock to anyone who was watching. But hey, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so again, I feel like a little bit biased on our part, but I feel like, well, maybe not. Maybe. I mean,
saying Jamal North is not biased.
I'm talking about myself. I'm not saying you're biased. I'm kind of. I feel like I'm a little biased too.
Yeah.
So, I just I just know North a little bit more too, and hey, they treat me well whenever I cover them, and I know they love our coverage. So it's a little hard not to be a little biased because of that.
Yeah, the Zumwalt School District is a big fan of GSV.
That's great to know. That tickles me when you say that. But hopefully, hopefully we can get to the game, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully, and then I think
if we get in the games, we'll get good film. That's what's going to happen.
And I say hopefully, I hope Zumwalt North wins because it's a St. Louis area school, and they're playing against a non-St. Louis area school. So
exactly.
I will openly root for Zumwalt North to win this because that's how we roll at GSV. We're going to go with the Panthers in this one. And our final game, which I'm so excited for, we're going to have a camera at this game too, and that's Jackson, the defending Class 5 runner-ups, against Fort Zumwalt West, who are, defending, well, not really defending.
Final Four team.
They're a Final Four team in Class 6. And on paper, this is a great game. It could be a little bit different, though, because we know a lot about both these teams because, Jackson, I'll speak on them first because this is a team. I think some people have said this is like one of the best returning teams they've ever had in their school's history, this could be the most talented team they've ever had, as far as I know. Still, they're going to be in Class 5, which is going to be absolutely loaded.
It's going to be carnage in Class 5, the Class 5 playoffs this year.
Oh, absolutely, and we'll probably talk more about that later on down the road.
I mean, at least when the classes get revealed.
When the classes. And what I unofficially know, and until then, we will. So Jackson, they return their All-State, their two-time All-State quarterback, Cale Welker, two of their best running backs who were injured for the whole season last year for about I think week 2 or 3 and on. And they returned their two best wide receivers who were very productive last year, and then everybody on their line, including Connor Tollison, who's committed to Mizzou. He's about 6'5", 300 pounds. They got a couple other big boys up front there too that are returning, so they're not just small, unlike what I said last year, which I still haunts me. Still haunts me to this day. And then their defense, and then they're gonna have some other underclassmen step up too. So what I'm told that will probably start, and then on defense, I mean they return I think about half their defense, but. Including Bryce Norman, who I think is their best defensive player they have at linebacker. So they're loaded, man. I think they can beat anybody in the state, maybe minus DeSmet.
Yeah.
But and then there's Fort Zumwalt West, who they lose some guys, but they're still going to be competitive, Roman.
Yeah, Zumwalt West, I mean, another one of those perennially good teams, and they bring back good O-line size as they do every single year. And they also bring back Chris Kerr, one of their wide receivers. He's got really good speed, and for 50-50 balls, and you throw them to him, it's really more like 80-20 balls because he's going to come down with them a majority of the time, especially against faster DBs like from Jackson or other good out-of-area teams. But, I mean, I don't think Zumwalt West has as much weapons as they did last year. I mean, last year they had Murphy, Strauss, Koviak, and we'll see if they make the Class 6 Final Four. That would be kind of a surprise, I guess. But I mean, we'll see how the district get aligned. But
yeah,
it'll be an interesting game here against Jackson.
I feel like if Zumwalt West is in the same type of district they were last year, there's a chance. I mean, because with all due respect, that was not a loaded district. I mean, I don't want to blemish Zumwalt West like what they did last year, but I feel like they still had a great season. Like both their losses were against two really good teams, and then. They did what they did in districts. They won, and then they even gave Joplin a good game. They didn't lay down against Joplin, so they were a good team. But then again, if they're in a similar district again, and who knows? I mean, I think Blue Springs and Blue Springs South. I would imagine they got to improve because
both those teams have been Blue Springs South out of Kansas City. Both those teams have been at least for their standards, pretty underwhelming the past few years.
Yeah.
I mean, from teams that have won state championships, I mean, what was that, 7-ish years ago? I mean, within the past decade.
Oh, yeah, they have.
It's really weird that they've not had down years the past few years, but, I mean, I guess all teams come in cycles where some years schools have good teams and other years they have bad teams, but it's just odd to see the Blue Springs schools not do very good for an extended period of time. So maybe this is the year that those teams break out, but we'll see.
Right. So,
and Kansas City's like a whole. I mean, we can do like honestly a whole podcast that region. I mean,
we did that.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, good teams like Liberty North, who was an undefeated regular season last year, but we'll see how they play out over there.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's down the road for sure. But Zumwalt West, Jackson in this game, I think I got to go with Jackson in this one. I just. They're loaded, and they've been practicing all summer, too. You got to take that into account. I mean, they've been practicing since May, and I feel like they're just raring to go. And Coach Eckley, he runs a real tight ship down there for them, and very good, great coach. He gets the best out of his players every year who aren't exactly the best athletes. If you look at their roster, you kind of see them run out of the tunnel, and get off the bus. Maybe they don't have, like, the most, the best athletes, but that he runs a great offensive system, great offensive-minded guy, and he gets the best out of them. And he has the athletes this year, and then he has the strength up front too. So man, it's just Jackson's got to be a tough team for anybody, and I feel like I just feel like they're going to be too much for Zumwalt West in this game. I would be amazed if Zumwalt West would win this one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be kind of a surprise, yeah, but I mean it's another St. Louis team playing out of St. Louis area school, so yeah. I mean. Not really going to yell and hoot and holler for the Jaguars, but maybe we'll hope they win. I don't know.
we hope they win, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't think they will.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
We'll see. So what's your prediction?
I've got Jackson by 10 in this one.
10? All right. That's
a close game. Yeah,
that's
down
a conservative
the wire.
guess.
Yeah.
One person's told me and this is a St. Louis person, by the way, he thinks Jackson will win by 3 touchdowns. It could happen. I mean, we saw what Jackson did. I mean, not a great example, but Jackson destroyed Webster Groves in Week 1 last year. But that's Webster Groves is not for Zumwalt West, so we'll leave it at that. All right, so those are our top 5 games of the week. I think we'll have more on tap. Hopefully, more on tap next week. We'll have a little bit of a better idea who's playing. And
in Week 2, we got the high anticipated matchup: Zumwalt North against France Howell.
Right, and we'll be there for that for sure. And then also, I don't think this is happening, but I still haven't heard official word that St. Mary's and Lutheran North, I don't think are playing, but I have not heard an official word on that, so that's why we didn't name that game. But if they were playing, definitely number 1 game of the week for sure. All right.
Hopefully they can just postpone that game.
Yeah, well,
at least just get it in and not cancel it. That's what we want.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if it's that simple, but we'll certainly see. So in the meantime, Roman, you got a GAC power rankings that you'd like to show us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to list the top 10 and then kind of briefly go over the top 5. But number 1, I got Francis Howell. Number 2, Zumwalt North. Number 3, Holt. Number 4, Zumwalt West. Number 5, St. Charles West. Number 6, Troy. Number 7, Washington. Number 8, Liberty. Number 9, Orchard Farm. And then 10, Zumwalt East. Mm-hmm. So number 1 with Francis Howell, I mean, you got a returning secondary led by Gus Hetzel. And we talked to their coaches pretty recently.
Yep.
And their coaches, one of the units they're most confident in is their secondary. I mean, they just talk about the athleticism and agility they have back there. And then they return Alex Pipes at quarterback, a pretty big dual threat there. And then, I mean, they're Francis Howell. They always have good size in the O-line. We were able to see that in person. And then one of the best prospects in the class of 2023 got Brett Norfleet, tight end.
Yeah,
he's pretty darn good. And then
who's just recently 24/7 Sports ranked him as the 16th best prospect in the country for his class.
Yeah, that's very impressive. So props to him.
Highest in the area too, which I don't think, with all due respect to Brett, I mean, we knew he was good, but I never heard anybody think Brett was the best out of that group.
Yeah,
but he very well could be. I mean, everybody is still young, and then they also got Taj Gurley, who's, I think we ranked him as a top 20 prospect in a player pool that's really loaded, especially too. So I think that's. Being named top 20 in that list is an accomplishment. So
yeah, and then number 2 is Zumwalt North. I mean, we talked about that earlier. How they return most of their defense, and the past 7 years, Vermont North has just been a complete powerhouse.
Yep.
I mean, they've been the best team in St. Charles County for the past half decade. But I mean, we'll see who gets that title for best team in the county week 2. Vermont North versus Francis Howell. And then number 3, I got Holt. And again, I did a little Holt preview on my Twitter. You guys can go ahead and check that out. And then number 4 is Vermont West. I mean, they do return Chris Curran, a lot of size in the O-line. But it'll be interesting to see who steps up for them. I knew that they do have quarterback Mikey Ludwig. I think he's either a sophomore or junior. I want to say he's a sophomore. I'm not completely sure, though. But he is one of their team captains, and to be team captain that young, that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, that says something.
Yeah, and then number 5, we got St. Charles West. Again, St. Charles West is like one of the premier small schools outside of St. Louis County. I mean, they're always well coached with Coach Gary Strauss, and then I talked about him earlier, but Dominic Flint is lightning quick, and he can run up down the field all day long, and he fits really well into their run-based system. So it looks like St. Charles West is probably going to win their conference again this year.
Okay, so that's and by the way, Mikey Ludwig is a sophomore.
Yeah, so sophomore being a team captain, that's pretty impressive. That means, being a team captain, that's not only just being good at football, that's just being a good off the field leader.
Yeah, that might say something about the senior class too, but I don't know. I don't want to stir the pot that way.
But and then I got a little other St. Charles County schools mini rankings, I guess. I mean, Lutheran St. Charles, and then St. Dominic, and then O'Fallon Christian, and then Duchesne. Mm-hmm. But none of these teams, even though Duchesne is the worst of those 4, they're not a bad team at all.
No.
I mean, Duchesne beat O'Fallon Christian last year.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how they're... Are there any other St. Charles County schools I'm missing? Other private schools?
That are private schools?
It's those 4, and then...
no, I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
Really apologize if we forget your name.
Yeah.
Well, because Borgia, they're not.
Borgia's not St. Charles County,
but they are playing right now. So
Borgia would be right in the middle of that pack. That's a pack of pretty good teams right there. Every single one of those teams. Although played differently, they all return lots of talent, and they all return high expectations.
Yeah,
so.
the AAA small school division is going to be really fun this year.
Mm-hmm. Especially taking Trinity out of there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Lutheran St. Charles versus the world there, pretty much.
I feel like it, yeah. And they're going to play Camden in week 2, and we'll definitely we'll preview that game when we will next week. So, but I feel like lastly, Roman, I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a statement that you're putting Holt over Zumwalt West, because I feel like it's usually Francis Howell and Zumwalt West in the GAC South, and then everybody else, it seems like, every year.
Yeah, we can't forget about Troy either. Troy brings back a decent amount of talent, and with their old school triple option. But this is going to be probably the closest race for a conference that we're going to have in really anywhere this year.
Yeah.
With Francis Howell, Holt, Demont West, and then Troy. They all play each other. It's pretty much what happened it's going to be what happened last year, but on steroids. I expect these games to be a lot closer. They're going to have a lot of more weight to them, and all these teams have higher expectations. So,
all right,
it'll be fun.
All right, well, that sounds good, and that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hopefully, we definitely won't see all of you guys at these games, because there's obviously going to be crowd limits, and Roman, you said that Battle is not letting the Zumwalt West.
Yeah, I'm
fans.
not 100% sure about that. I just heard a rumor from people at Zumwalt North that Battle's not allowing Zumwalt North cheerleaders, or it's at least cheerleaders. I'm not sure if it's fans or not. But if Battle only allows home fans, that would be a lot biased, and then a little odd, because at that point you're just stacking the deck against one team. That's not very fair. So
right, I feel like if there's no fans or no cheerleaders, it would probably be no cheerleaders, because if there's no fans, then who would the cheerleaders cheer to?
Yeah, there's not going to be any student sections. So
right, yeah. So all right, we'll see all that. But hey, like we said, I've been saying this all summer. Hey, this might not be so great, but it's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree 100%.
We can't tell you how super excited we are to be back out filming football, and just see football as well. So we'll see you guys on Friday, and that'll be about it. All right, see you guys Friday, and thank you for football.
Stay safe, y'all.
All right, bye.